Hi everyone, I'm Yasha, and welcome to the 38th episode of Election Scoop. And we finally did it! The midterm elections have been held, and we'll be discussing the results tonight. Democrats took back the House, while Republicans gained a majority in the Senate. So let's dive in. For the Senate, there are still a few races to be called. We haven't, the AP hasn't called Florida yet, for example, but it looks like most likely what's going to happen is the GOP is going to flip Florida, Indiana, North Dakota, and Missouri, and the Democrats are going to flip Nevada. Again, Arizona might flip Democratic because it's not called yet, but most likely it will not. So, uh, going in order from left to right, top to down, are Joe Donnelly of Indiana, Claire McCaskill of Missouri, Bill Nelson of Florida, Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota, and Dean Heller of Nevada. With the exception of Heller, all of these are Democrats and who lost the election to Republicans, and Heller, the last guy, is a Republican who lost re-election for the Democrats. And so where does this put us? This puts us at 54 Republicans, 46 Democrats, a net gain of 3 for the GOP, since currently the composition of the Senate is 51 Republicans, 49 Democrats. Definitely good for the Republicans, but the Democrats had a really tough map. They had a lot of seats to defend in Trump states. So while this is obviously a win for the Republicans, it's not wrong to say that the Democrats have some light out of this. And of course, the Democrats can be really happy with the results in the House of Representatives. Now, a lot of these are not called yet, but so far, if I could, who's leading right now? We know Democrats are going to take the House. They're looking at flipping 37 districts, and the GOP is flipping 3. So now take a minute to look at where these things are. Obviously, places like California and Pennsylvania provided the backbone for Democrats, but look, it's not just that. One flip in Kansas, one flip in Oklahoma. The exclamation marks are for where we had no idea it was coming. One flip in Kansas, a flip in Oklahoma, a flip in South Carolina, a flip in Utah. Texas, those two we kind of expected because they're suburban. They vote back Beto O'Rourke, another Democrat who narrowly lost to flip the Texas Senate seat blue. But I mean, if you take California, that's 3 districts. So California has as much Democratic weight as Kansas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina. Okay, so California did the same as those 3 really red states. So obviously, I mean, Democratic states push the Democrats over the line. California 3, New Jersey 4, New York 3, Virginia 3, Pennsylvania 4, Illinois, etc. But if you look at the states, I mean, a lot of these are Republican states. Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Iowa maybe, Kansas, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, Utah. And that's good for the Democrats. They're gaining. And if all this comes true, if all this comes true, it would put the House composition at 227 Democrats, 208 Republicans. Not a huge victory, but definitely a solid one. Now let's look at the governors. Democrats flipped 7 governorships: Nevada, New Mexico, Kansas, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, and Maine. Kansas was the one, honestly, I didn't predict. I also predicted that Republicans would keep Nevada and I think 1 or 2 others, but I could have, anyone could have guessed that those were turning, that they were turning blue. No one really expected Kansas, and so obviously you have to take some of these with a grain of salt. Kansas is not turning blue, but Democrats, if you remember, gained a seat. You see right here in Kansas and they almost gained 2 out of 4 congressional districts, and now they flip the governor's seat. So that's some positive momentum for them there. And the GOP flipped one governor's seat, Alaska. So that brings it up to 27 Republican governors, 23 Democratic governors, which I believe is an increase of 7 or 8 for the Democrats. Or, sorry, 6. Last but not least, state legislatures. Or no, the second to last but not least, state legislatures, which is not something that I usually do, but I wanted to cover it. The Democrats flipped these state legislatures, so the local legislatures of each state. The New Hampshire Senate and House, the New York, Colorado, and Maine Senates, and the Minnesota House were all held by Republicans and flipped Democrat. And the Alaska House, which was through a power sharing agreement, I believe, held by the Democrats, flipped for the GOP. And now finally is state trifectas, which is kind of like it's a topic that Ballotpedia came up with to signify a trifecta is when Democrats control, or Republicans, if one party controls the governorship, the state senate, and the state house. So like total control of one state. The Democrats gained trifectas in 6 states: Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Illinois, New York, and Maine. The GOP lost it in 4 states: Kansas, New Hampshire, Wisconsin, and Michigan. I forgot to put on here that they gained it in Alaska. As you can see, Republicans still have a pretty big lead in the number of states they control. 22 to the Democrats is 14, with 14 likewise under divided government. And of course, these numbers add up to 50 for the 50 states. So, while this is still positive for the Republicans, and they kept control of in total, I'm not saying that this was a bad night for the Republicans. Both sides have something to cheer about. But now, in addition to enthusiasm that Democrats have had over the last 2 years, they now have some of that power, some of that raw energy institutionalized. And the next 2 years are going to show how this raw grassroots power is going to translate into refined policymaking in the House of Representatives in these new states that they have control of, and across the board in all 50 states. So thanks for watching, and remember, don't forget to vote.